certainly appreciate that. Um, this is a completely different environment than what I'm used to. Those of you who have seen my show on YouTube or you listen to the podcast that drops every Tuesday at midnight, I had to throw my shameless plug in there. Um, there's a certain format that's become accustomed to my content that I put out each and every week. This is going to be something different. This was an invitation thing. This started out as an idea that we thought maybe we could do something with this, because it is a different type of environment, not necessarily a stage show, as it were, and certainly far removed from recording a podcast or sitting in front of a camera in my office and filming something for the YouTube channel. For those of you who do not know who I am, and you were drug here because a friend is a fan of the show and they really wanted to come to the show, or there was something that piqued their interest and they had nobody else to go with, or everybody else had told them no, bless your hearts for coming out here. This is kind of it's obviously a more intimate setting. There's just X amount of spectators. But we are filming this right now for the YouTube channel. So full disclosure, this is going to be filmed and it's going to be edited and it's going to be put on to my YouTube channel. So if anybody has an issue with that for whatever reason, I certainly understand, and I won't be offended if you have to leave. I will also tell you that in this particular setting, this is definitely not going to be geared towards a younger demographic, because anybody that watches or listens to the show, when I start going on a rant, there's no telling what's going to be coming out of my mouth. So it's definitely going to be more adult oriented. We are going to deal with an adult oriented topic. We are certainly not discussing what Halloween costumes are popular this year or anything of the like. I am, to kind of give you a little bit of a background as to who I am and why I am here. It is, first and foremost, I am not an expert in anything. I do not have any PhDs in psychology or sociology or anything like this. I am a husband. I am a father. I work at an assembly plant for one of the big three. I am a proud member of the UAW. And aside from that, I have spent the last over 25 years as a promoter and a performer in a professional wrestling organization. And about a year and a half ago, I decided I was going to try something different. And I was going to try my hand at some sort of motivational speaking. And it kind of ties in with what we're going to talk about here. And for anybody who's watching this, and for any of you who have listened especially to the earlier episodes that we put out, a lot of this may sound like it's been repeated, but And I take that into consideration, but I promise you that there will be things that we talk about here that has not been discussed on the podcast and has not been discussed previously on YouTube. You will also notice I have a cup of coffee, and this is very important to me. And this is what is going to help me facilitate and navigate through our little journey here. So I will be taking frequent coffee sips. Don't mind telling you that that is a damn good cup of coffee. This thing came up as an idea, and it was, what if we did this? And would you be interested in doing something like this? Totally different environment, backdrop, very, there's not a lot of equipment involved in this presentation. This is raw, this is bare bones, and I like it that way. Because I am a firm believer that in life, generally, less is more. And what I mean by that is the younger generation nowadays, the ones that are coming of age, the ones that are growing up, they have all these technological advances that we only dreamed about when we were kids. Now, I am 44 years old. I grew up in the 80s. And to me, and I'm sure this goes across the board, regardless of what age you are, you think that that time period in which you grew up was the best time that there ever was. And I can certainly understand that, and I can appreciate that, but I can also tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the 80s was where it was at. Because we had advances, we had entertainment, we had various aspects of technology at our disposal that enhanced our entertainment. But it wasn't so it wasn't so much as it completely saturated our society as a whole. And that's what you're seeing now. And that's why kids nowadays, a lot of them don't have the basic fundamental experiences that we had growing up, and that in turn I think is why in a lot of ways I feel like our generation is one of the last hard-working across the board eras. And that's certainly not to crap on anybody that's younger. And I'm definitely not saying that the younger demographic are lazy, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that there are some damn fine hard-working people in their 20s, in their 30s. I know that. But the problem is that those who are being, the model citizen, the model employee, those who are really wanting to put in an honest day's work, they are being muted in some way, shape, or form by the uproar of the vast majority of that specific era that is not the most ambitious group of people we've ever seen. They just aren't. And a lot of that is because, for whatever reason, they missed out on the days that the basic fundamentals of life were taught. A lot of the younger demographic base their happiness on electronics, video games, iPhones, tablets. They get their PlayStations, they get their Xboxes, they get their Nintendos, and or they go online. If they have the ability to go online, they're in chat rooms, they're on social media, they're doing Snapchat, TikTok, and everything else under the sun. We never had any of that. You know what our social media was? Going outside and playing with our neighbors. A game of pickup kickball. That was real popular in my neighborhood. And I also take into consideration that it is based a lot on your environments as you're growing up, your experiences that you're seeing, because a kid that grew up in a very small country-based town is not going to have the same upbringing and experiences as a kid that grew up on the streets of Detroit. Just doesn't, they don't match. Two different dynamics on polar opposites of the proverbial spectrum. And I understand that. But I also take into consideration, and this is a glaring example, is that there are plenty of success stories based on people who grew up in less than favorable environments and circumstances, and they overcame that. And they made something of themselves, and they improved their situation. Now, no one said it was going to be easy. But the bottom line is, and the purpose for this little thing we've got happening here, is if you want something bad enough, you are going to have to find a way to earn it. You are going to have to fight for it, and you are going to have to work for it. Because if you take nothing else away from what I'm about to talk about here, take this away. Anything that is easily handed to you can just as easily be taken away. That is a fundamental fact. That, and I've talked about it several times on my shows. Because somewhere along the line, between the time that I grew up to where we are here and now, the emphasis on a strong work ethic has taken a back seat. It's taken a back seat to technology. And it's taken a back seat to all these gizmos and gadgets and gimmicks that are designed to make our lives easier. I'm finding out that I think these technological advances, although they are fantastic and they do serve purpose, they do serve some good, when abused and when oversaturated with that kind of advancement, it's actually making us dumber. You think I'm wrong? People my age that are hearing me, that are watching me, I can sum it up. I can give you one example in one word as to how we are becoming dumber. Autocorrect. We depend on autocorrect. We won't take the time to actually sound out a word as we're typing a text message or whatever, and actually sound it out and actually apply yourself to spell the word right. Because as you're typing, anybody who has a phone nowadays has seen this, the suggestions pop up underneath it, and you go, oh, well, that's the word. We don't We don't take it. I mean, if a word does not register with the vast vocabulary that is based around a cell phone nowadays, it will underline it generally in red. That tells you that they do not recognize the spelling of this word. A lot of time it's people's names, right? Because people have unique spelling for their names, and of course that's not going to register with the glossary or the vocabulary, the dictionary or what have you that's tied in with this phone here. We don't remember people's phone numbers anymore. I can remember the phone number I had as a kid. To this day, 40 years later, I can remember that phone number. I can remember my address. Addresses are different. You kind of need to know your address, but phone numbers are big. Do you know your best friend's phone number by heart? Do you know your neighbor's phone number? Do you know your mom's phone number? Or your brother's or your sister's? You know, you best damn well know your significant others, I can tell you that. Because if things go askew one night and you wind up finding yourself in an unfavorable situation accompanied by a couple of people in uniforms with a badge on their chest, generally speaking, they're taking your phone, and you better have somebody's number, memorized, or it's going to be a long night for you. I was asked to talk about the fundamentals of life, or what my opinion of that is. And I have a pretty solid idea of what I think that is. Because all I got to do is go back and think about my childhood. And I think about the stories that my parents told me about their childhood. And they're totally different things based on totally different situations. My mom grew up in the city. She was born in Detroit, and she lived the majority of her young life in the suburbs of Detroit. My dad grew up in Kentucky, where in a house that at the time when he was growing up did not have indoor plumbing. But as life does, it took my mom and my dad down these roads, their journey on this thing that we call life, and at some point their roads intersected. Thankfully, that happened. But they took their own experiences and they built a family. And it is through their examples of hard work and dedication that I was instilled with a strong sense of a strong work ethic. That whatever I wanted in life, I was going to have to earn. Now, that's not to say that there weren't times that I had to ask for help, because generally we do. At some point, we find ourselves in a situation, and we have no other alternative but to ask mom and dad for help. That has happened. But I mean, as long as that loan or what have you is paid back in some way, shape, or form, you know, that's a whole lot different scenario than just taking the money and running and not doing with it what you're supposed to do, like maybe pay your rent that's past due, or a car payment that you owe on, or something of this nature. Now, I watched my parents work hard every day of their adult life that I knew about. And I can't imagine that before I came along, anything in that nature was any different. That's just not a switch that you flip on. Now, you know, there are days when we go into work and we're just not feeling it. But at the same time, you know, when you have a good work ethic, when you are a good employee, you gain a reputation. You gain respect. You earn respect from your peers, your coworkers, and hopefully by the ones calling the shots, management, that they realize the value that you bring to their place of business, regardless of what it is. Fast food restaurant, manufacturing plant, barber shop, you know, it doesn't matter. If people are paying you to do a job, they expect you to produce the absolute best that you can do. Because when you work for somebody and you are tasked with doing a job, you are an extension of that business, you are an extension of that owner, and nobody wants to look ridiculous. But there's a difference between having an off day and just having a shit work ethic. That you go into work every day mad because you have to work, instead of screwing off and doing whatever it is you would rather be doing. You know, in my experience and listening and seeing and hanging out with different people like this, generally speaking, it's not very productive. Their other plan is not productive by any. I mean, they may advance to the next level of Fortnite or whatever, but other than that, they're not making that much of a significant, you know, impact on their own lives, really. And then they're going to be the ones that are always, you know, pissing and moaning about how life is not going their way. Things aren't going my way. And the whole world sucks. And you don't share the same philosophy that I do, so you are wrong, I am right, I am better than you, and you suck. And you have no value, you have no worth. I mean, you've seen this shit before. You know, if you frequent social media in any way, shape, or form, you've read that. I would suggest that a lot of those cases is based solely on the fact that at some point recently, in whatever form, in whatever fashion, reality slapped them upside the head, and they realized that they are doing nothing and going absolutely nowhere. And when that happens, a lot of times, instead of owning up to it and realizing that it's got to start somewhere, and if you want to see change in your life, you've got to be the one that goes through the motions. You can't expect everybody to do everything for you. because you're not learning anything. You're not making any headway whatsoever. You're doing nothing. You're going nowhere. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is flying by you. And then the day that you do decide to pick your ass up off the couch and actually do something, life has progressed so far, you are lost. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea where you're going. It's got to start with you. If you want to be anything in this world, if you want to accomplish anything in this world, if you want to make a difference to anything in this world, it starts with a strong work ethic. It starts with drive and determination. It's fundamentals. At some point, you need to come to terms with the fact that if you are going to achieve anything in this world, if you are going to achieve anything in your life, you need to grab life by the throat and make it your bitch. You need to tell the story as to what's happening, not have the story told for you. Because the story that's told for you, generally, more often than not, is not going to be the one that you want to be in. That falls on you. That falls on anybody that wants to achieve a goal, a dream, a destination. I don't care what it is. We all have opportunities. Some are more obvious than others. And more often than not, we are met with these windows of opportunity. And sometimes we get so wrapped up with everything else going on, we don't see it. We miss it. The train has continued down the tracks. Next stop, Albuquerque. And that thing is not turning left and coming back around. If you want to do anything, if you want to be anything, you got to go out and get it. You got to go work for it. You got to go earn it. Earning it is the key. If you earn something, it's going to mean more to you. If you earn something, you are going to fight harder for it. If you earn something, it's because you refuse to take no for an answer. If you've earned something, it's because roadblocks were thrown in your way, because I can tell you, whatever path you decide to go on, it is not going to be smooth sailing. It is not going to be a freshly paved highway. There's going to be bumps, there's going to be twists, there's going to be turns, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be roadblocks. All in an effort to detour you from where you want to go. Now, all depending on how bad you want to get to that other side of the obstacle will determine what lengths you will go to overcome these challenges and to adapt to your surroundings and to use it to your advantage instead of it being a negative. Here's an example. You're coming up, you're driving down the road. There's a big chunk of road taken out. Everybody is blocked. They can't go anywhere. or so they seem. You see that thing, you see that crater in the road, and you see a very small edge of it that's smooth. It's smooth, and it's, just goes up a little bit. And coincidentally enough, it's just wide enough for your wheelbase. While everybody else is worried about the big ass hole in the ground and the rugged edge around it, steel and asphalt and pointy things out will blow your tires out. While everybody else is fixated on that, and they're pissing and they're moaning and they're crying because they can't go anywhere, you see that window of opportunity. You see that just that little bit of difference that everybody else is not paying attention to. The margin for error is minor, but it's something that you really want to do. You want to get to the other side of that crater. You want to get to the other side of that roadblock so that you can continue your trek, your journey, wherever it is that you are wanting to go. So you back up. You take the path that no one else is on, that leads you to this small ramp. You gun it with everything that you got. Yeah, it's scary. It's a big ass crater. There's a big hole in the ground that could cause significant damage. We don't have a habit of jumping our vehicles. The element of the unknown is there. But instead of that doubt that everybody else around that hole is expressing, you have drive. And you slam that thing into gear, you punch the pedal to the metal, and you just go for it. Because sometimes you don't know unless you just roll the dice. It can be a slippery slope, but it can also be the most rewarding win up to that point on whatever journey that you're on. You hit that ramp at top speed, man. And there, you start to question as you're in midair, do you have enough momentum to carry you across the crater? But when you're halfway over it in midair, what you think at that particular point doesn't make a damn bit of difference, because you're at the point of no return. You're going somewhere. You're either going to make it to the end of the crater or you're going to the bottom of the bitch. And wouldn't you know it, on that particular occasion, you saw the window of opportunity, albeit a small one. But you utilized that, you overcame, and you cleared that obstacle, and now you are continuing on with your journey when everybody else is still stuck in the back. You will encounter all sorts of people in your life. You will encounter, especially if you're working towards a dream or a dream job or a specific goal that really means something to you, you are going to encounter two types of people in your life. One is going to be your cheerleaders, the ones that support you, the ones that are going to be there for you, the ones that are going to pick you up when you want to stay down. They have the best of intentions. They want to see you succeed, and they will do whatever they have to in order to help you achieve your dreams. On the flip side of that coin, you will come across the people who on the surface will act like they have your best interest at the forefront, but in reality they do not. They want to see you fail so that they can keep moving forward. without competition. They could mask themselves as your best friend, but if you are working towards the same goal or you're going down the same road, there is a sense of competition that will rear its sometimes ugly head, and you start to see who people are fundamentally. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it winds up being the polar opposite of what you thought they were. And then you will come across another group of people kind of off to the wayside that just hate the world, hate everything about it, and there's that's who they are. There's no masking that. They're just miserable people that hate to see people happy and hate to see people succeed. If I were you, I would steer clear of those kind of people, because they serve no purpose other than to just be miserable. I don't know about you, but that's not the kind of life I want to live. So my takeaway, my point of all of this is, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. I want you to think about, ultimately, long term and short term, what do you want to do with your life? Who do you want to be? And there is really no dumb answer. I mean, if it's something that you are honest about, and it's something that you are passionate about, and it may not always materialize in your ideal form, but that doesn't mean that you can't be still involved in that genre in some way, shape, or form. In a lot of ways, in a lot of times, you wind up falling into a path that you did not anticipate, but you actually wound up being happier with when you got to the end of that particular road. That does happen. It happens a lot more often than people think. Because not everybody is going to be a Hollywood star. Not everybody is going to be a lead singer of a rock and roll band. Not everybody is going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Not everybody is going to be a World Series MVP. Not everybody is going to be a world champion of a major professional wrestling promotion. But that doesn't mean you can't be involved in those genres if that's what you choose. Sometimes we just have to shift our focus. And it winds up being a more fulfilling in the long term, in the long run, than perhaps what your original plan or goal or dream was. It does happen. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be discouraged every time something doesn't go our way. In fact, I would tend to utilize that as a try. Instead of pissing and moaning and concentrating solely on what didn't go right, think about what you could do. Now you know what not to do the next time. So you're turning that negative into a positive. You know what didn't work. So we can take that off the table. We could try something else. And if that don't work, we put that off the table. We try again. There's going to be significant challenges all throughout the course of your life. Things you have a hand in and things you have no control over. That's life. And generally speaking, contrary to the popular belief, if you are pure of heart, if you are pure of soul, and you are genuinely on the inside a good person, good things will come to you. If you lie and you cheat and you steal and you bullshit your way through life, yeah, you may start checking off these milestones on your journey, but they're not going to mean nearly as much to you until that day that it's ripped right back away from you, just as fast, if not faster, than how you got it. That's life. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes a long, long time, but it does come back around. What goes around comes around. It's not just a cliche. And karma can be a very moody, a very temperamental, a very nasty bitch. I also believe that you do unto others as you would have done to you. You want respect, you want admiration, you want positive vibes, you want things of that nature. You've got to put it out there too. It's not just a one-way thing, man. Respect is one of the most valuable things that you will ever earn. I said earn, because that's another issue with the younger demographic. They think that they should just be handed respect, that they are owed respect. I got news for you. You are not owed a damn thing in this world. Those of you who live by that philosophy, you are going to find out sooner rather than later that that is not going to fly. The world owes you nothing other than opportunity, if you so choose. That is a basic fundamental of life. You want it, earn it, work for it. You want to be treated like a decent person, be a decent person. You want to see positive change in this world and in the world around you, in your neck of the woods, or the world as a whole, be the change. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. You be the one. It starts with you. And that kind of behavior can and oftentimes is infectious, and it starts a movement. But it's got to be for the right reasons. We all have opportunities. Each and every day that we wake up, we have an opportunity to start new, to start fresh. It's kind of like a clean slate. Every day is a clean slate, because what happened yesterday has already happened. You can't go back in time, and you're not going to change it. You learn from it, but you're not going to change it. It's already happened. All you can do is control the now. And the decisions that you make on this day will determine what kind of day that you have. What kind of day do you want to have? When you figure that out, and when you figure out where you want to go and what you want to do and what truly makes you happy, and you embark on that journey, you will sleep better at the end of the day, going into the night. just a couple of random thoughts here. And certainly appreciate the opportunity for everybody watching, listening um, on the YouTube channel. I certainly appreciate it. Um, I'll sign off here like I do on the podcast. Very fun, very simple. Just be awesome to yourselves and to each other. When you're awesome to yourself and to each other, we will start to change the world, and it will become, once again, an awesome place. But it starts with you. Thank you very much.